Hello ladies and gentlemen and TV show lovers of all kind, and welcome back to the channel. As always, I am your host, Brett Murphy, and for today's video, it is going to be another ranking. And I am going to be ranking all 3 of the MCU's Disney Plus original series. So yes, the MCU has finally made the big move to streaming services, with a massive lineup of Disney Plus original series heading our way. And as it currently stands, we've already seen the release of 3 different series, which have greatly impacted the overall MCU. And with many, many more already on the way, I felt it was a good time to stop and show a little bit of love and appreciation for what we have gotten so far. Before we hop into the actual ranking itself, I just wanted to let you all know that I have an entire playlist dedicated to all of my ranking videos. So be sure to check that out, and I guarantee you'll find something you like. And so, with all that being said, let's hop right into things. Number 3, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So firstly, I just want to say that I really dug how this show explored themes like duty, honor, legacy, PTSD, redemption, racism, and patriotism. Because those are some very interesting, dynamic, and touchy themes. I'll start off by saying that the dynamic between Sam and Bucky is by far the best aspect of the show. They have their cute little bickering and banter in the beginning that they had from before, but their relationship really does grow and blossom into something truly beautiful by the final episode. Both of their narrative journeys are rewarding and fulfilling. Sam becomes our new Captain America, and Bucky is finally able to make amends, release, and forgive himself. John Walker too was quite the compelling character and doesn't get as much love as he deserves. Although I must say that by the show's end, I don't feel he was really fully redeemed. I do have to say though that I am very excited to see what they do with him next. Carly and the Flag Smashers though ended up being painfully dull, as they offered up both mixed messages and methods to their madness. They were wildly inconsistent and altogether completely forgettable. I was absolutely thrilled to hear that Zemo was coming back to the MCU and would finally be donning his iconic mask. But sadly, both of those aspects fell pretty flat for me. Zemo did not at all strike me as the same complex and multi-dimensional character that we got in Civil War. And the mask was only brief and just for the fans. Sharon Carter was bland, and you could see the power broker twist coming from a mile away. However, Isaiah Bradley, his story, and where things left off for that character were incredibly powerful. I thought the majority of the action was slick and well shot, and episodes 4 and 5 were by far the strongest of the series. And while sadly I hate to report that I don't believe it lived up to its fullest potential overall, I did leave the finale feeling satisfied and hopeful for the future of these characters and the plot lines that this show set up. Number 2, WandaVision. Since we opened the last one by discussing the themes, I figured we'd continue the trend with this one, because this show too explores some incredibly dark and heavy themes, like loss, grief, mourning, motherhood, denial, and ultimately acceptance. The show started off strange but intriguing enough, at least if you were a dedicated MCU fan, because everyone else was confused as hell. But then it went on and got really good in the middle, and depending on who you ask, relatively disappointing by its end. And I know a lot of you are going to disagree and probably hate me for this, but I thought that Agatha Harkness was a bad villain. She was just way too corny, cheesy, and over the top for my liking. It felt like something out of the original Scooby-Doo show. Her cackle and her one-liners and her whole getup, I did not vibe with it at all, and I really don't understand why everyone loves her so much. And the Agatha All Along song was horrendous and completely cringeworthy. Oh, and not to mention the whole Ralph Boner Quicksilver twist felt like an absolute slap in the face. However, Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany give exceptional performances. Monica Rambeau is a badass, and I cannot wait to see more of her. And Jimmy Woo and Darcy were both hilarious and charming side characters. The show does a phenomenal job at both accurately and faithfully recreating elements of the best sitcom from each decade they decided to cover in unique and creative ways. Although I felt that the finale overall was a letdown, the final moments between Wanda and her family left me in tears. Not to mention, this show does a magnificent job at setting up for the future. With Wanda well on her way into Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, White Vision regaining his memories and off out there somewhere in the MCU, and Monica finally gaining her superpowers and going off with the Skrulls. I'd also like to point out that I believe episode 8 of this show is the best episode yet of all 3 of these shows, as it delivered on all fronts and felt truly impactful, in a haunting yet beautiful look at Wanda's life. And number 1, Loki. What could have been a simple little fun time/dimension hopping adventure turned into a full-blown rollicking exploration of time, space, and the multiverse. The deep dive we get into Loki as a character after all that we've seen of him in all of the movies thus far is handled so unbelievably well. It truly was phenomenal. I mean, we go from the trickster, the god of mischief with hints of a heart of gold, into a layered, nuanced, and multi-dimensional character. Yes, he does get up to many of his old tricks, but he goes through a lot of self-discovery, which then leads to self-acceptance, which ultimately progresses to self-love. And it's absolutely both heartbreaking and wonderful. Also terrifying and terrific. They handled it all so well, and for that, I applaud them. The dynamic between Loki and Mobius is so charming and wonderful. Owen Wilson is a real treat, in what is now among my favorite of his roles. And on the flip side, the dynamic between Loki and Sylvie is both marvelous and kinda creepy. But honestly, I was rooting for them. From the very beginning, this show was changing everything we knew, or at least we thought we knew, about the MCU. And where it ended will forever change it. I still honestly really can't believe they had the audacity to try and pull all of this off. And now it's official. Phase 4 of the MCU is about to be its wildest yet. Not to mention, this is the only show so far that we're going to be getting a Season 2 for. So that is all for today's video, folks. Be sure to let me know down in the comments if you agree or disagree with my ranking. And while you're at it, feel free to let me know what ranking you'd like to see me do next. If you enjoyed that video, be sure to hit that thumbs up button. And if you'd like to see more content, consider subscribing to my channel and ringing that little bell icon. That way you can be notified about all of my latest uploads. And as always, stay safe. Thank you so much for watching. And that's a wrap. Hey you, yeah you, if you made it this far, just know I appreciate you, and while you're here, consider hitting that subscribe button.